Hello, good evening. You're welcome to the Mystery Zone, the zone where we make known the unknown with narratives involving real people at real places. This is a zone where we explain the unexplained. Tonight on the Mystery Zone, again, we'll be digressing a little bit because we would move away from our regular religious, oriented program to something that has to do with, bread and butter, if you like. Tonight we have a topic that is in form of a question, and the question is whether or not Ghana is really at the crossroads. My name is Josie Anderson, your regular host. You can connect with us via WhatsApp on 055 1300 055 1300. You can send in your comments and your questions, and we'll hopefully provide you with the needed answers. We're also live on Facebook at Radio Angelus Ghana, Radio Angelus Ghana, or you can also connect with us via www.radioangelus.com, www.radioangelus.com. Remember, the Mystery Zone is about ecumenism. We encourage inter-religious dialogue and religious tolerance. We have zero tolerance for insults, needless name-calling, and intellectual dishonesty. You are free to offer alternative viewpoints, as strongly as possible, but we, crave your indulgence to do so with recourse to decorum and civility. The views and comments expressed by panelists or contributors on the Mystery Zone are solely and entirely those of the individuals and do not in any form or shape represent those of Radio Angelus. I repeat, the views, comments, opinions, shared by our panelists or contributors on this show do not in any form or shape represent the views or positions of Radio Angelus. Remember, the show is proudly sponsored by Ini Royal GH and Food 101. For Ini Royal, it gives you the best natural fruit juice to boost your immune system and help you live a healthy life. For a perfect blend of natural goodness for your event, call Ini Royal GH on 055 967 8030. 055-967-8030 or 0543 146542, 0543 146542. The show is also sponsored by Food 101. This is the brand we absolutely love. This is the brand you can trust. Call Food 101 for your corporate, home, and event catering. They will also sort you out when you are having events like wedding, outdooring, and birthday parties. You should also try their soups and stews. They make your life so easy. For a healthy homemade food, contact Food 101 on 020-817-5025, 020-817-5025, or 050-158 5323, 050-158 5323. Remember, the show is interactive, as we said earlier. You can send in your views, questions, general comments via WhatsApp on 055 1300, 055 1300, or via Facebook at Radio Angelus Ghana. Now, tonight on the Mystery Zone, we ask whether or not Ghana is on the crossroads. Now, different views have emerged suggesting that the country Ghana is not in the best of shape economically, socially, etc. Now, some political animals have opined that ever since Ghana departed from the paradigms of, Sergeant Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, her fortunes in all aspects of development took a nosedive. Many have argued that the worst policy mistake that Ghana made was to entertain the cosmetic goodies, being offered by the likes of IMF and the World Bank, or you can simply put the Bretton Woods institution. They argued, for example, that these institutions have not, really helped any country to attain economic independence as per their antecedents and evidence on the ground. They further suggested that Ghana, and for that matter, Africa, or some African countries, were better off until the so-called pseudo-interventions of the IMF and the World Bank, respectively. On the mystery zone tonight, we ask, is the problem of Ghana a case of wrong ideological choices? What would have happened to Ghana and other African countries without, the interventions of the IMF and the World Bank? Is it too late for Ghana to get it right? Now, is it true that socialism has lost its relevance in modern-day political economy? Is capitalism the best option available to help Ghana recapture, the perceived lost glory? How does the issue of paradigm resolve the vexed issue of bread and butter, which appears to be the most commonly discussed subject or subject matter in recent times? Did Ghana shoot herself in the foot by truncating the regime of Osajefo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah? All these and more will be discussed tonight on the Mystery Zone. Now, joining us to make sense of all the issues raised is grandfather Ayeto Meka. He is a Pan-Africanist and a socialist to the core. Grandfather, you are welcome to the Mystery Zone.
Yes, thank you.
Good. How are we doing?
Very well.
Wonderful. I believe you have listened to the, not too different from the synopsis that the team, our production team put together. I don't know whether you have a general comment before we go to the specifics.
The line is wobbling, so I don't really get you clear.
Grandfather, we can hardly hear you. Can you please either reposition yourself or amplify your voice? Because your voice is too faint. We can hardly hear you.
I said your line is wobbling and I hardly hear you.
Wow. So is it okay now? Can you hear me now?
It's better than before.
Wow. Can you hear me now? Is it a bit clear? Can you?
Better than before.
Okay. Please. Can you just hang up? We'll call you back. We'll use a different line to call you. All right. So sorry about that, listeners. You are still live on Radio Angelus via www.radioangelus.com, and this is the Mystery Zone, the zone where we make known the unknown with narratives involving real people at real places. So we'll connect back with our guest, and hopefully we'll see how it goes here.
Hello?
Yeah, hello, grandfather. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Yes, I was saying that, I believe you have cited the synopsis that our production team put together, and, which I believe you have. And I was asking whether you have some form of general comment before we delve into the specifics.
Well, essentially, the situation that Ghana faces itself, it's not substantially different from what the entirety of the continent of Africa is going through. This is largely as a result of the kind of economic structure that African states see themselves or evolve. Basically, typically African economies hinge largely on the largesse of the metropolitan economies.
Yeah.
So when there is a shock at the capitals of metropolitan economy, there is always not indirect but direct negative impact on African states. So what is happening now is largely as a result of the chronic dependence of African states on the Western economies.
Mm.
That is why currently there is economic heat affecting every other African economy. Ghana's situation is more pronounced because of the level of economic rampage that has taken place over time. And the cracks demonstration of lack of self-consciousness and the ability to develop an indigenous economic direction. That is the reason why among the 53 African states, it looks like Ghana's situation is much more pronounced and worse than the rest.
So, some, people have argued that, especially those who are proponents of the leftist ideology, that, well, as far as they are concerned, that the problem of Ghana is a case of wrong ideological choices. To what extent would you identify with this school of thought?
No, yes, to some larger extent, one can make an argument to illustrate the validity of the question you posed. The global economic system is such that the capitalist ideologues seems to have gained some considerable domination. So you take countries like China, which profess to be a communist state. One way or the other, we can see the blend. So there is not absolute total separation between the capitalist mode of economic practices and that of communism or socialism. To those countries that profess, these opposing ideologies. But come to our current reality. What we are facing is largely the making of the inherent failure of the new liberal economic world order. That the system itself has gotten to its apogee, and that it has now hit the wall with its back. And the weak end is what we are witnessing over time. That the more in which capitalism evolves is production and consumption. But we should accept the fact that production can be so much, consumption can be so much, but there's always a limitation to the two. And if they reach that level, this is the consequence because you will now get to a stagnation where production can no longer go on because the consumption has also reached its peak. Yet, capital will always want to do or rake in more profit. Yeah. And if you cannot make more profit, then production also do what? Get stuck. Then the problem that we are seeing, both the social and economic problem, is what is now cascading in our face. Now, but do the African countries possess the capital which is prerequisite for the new economic production activity? Certainly no. We don't have capital. That is why in all our economic endeavors, we emphasize on foreign direct investment. Guess what? Even if we are able to achieve that direct foreign investment, there comes a time where the investors will have to do what? Send back what they brought in terms of profit back to their home country. And if that happens, you report, this was one of the main predicaments that Ghana is going through, which has brought the city to its knees as we speak now. As soon as capital is being repatriated, then the city take a hit. And that is what we are facing now. And it has been happening all this while. So it is about time that we come to think of self-reliance. Well, the global economic world order will never fulfill its promises to the global African economy. We have come to that realization, even not today, but because of the inertia and lack of political will on the part of African leaders. Else, what we are experiencing today wouldn't have before us. Why am I saying that? In 1979, African countries met in Monrovia, Liberia. We gave birth to the Monrovia Declaration. And that declaration dovetailed into Lagos Plan of Action in 1980. Essentially, it's to do what? To win Africa off the apron strings of metropolitan capital economies. That was essentially about the Lagos Plan of Action. It's such a beautiful document. We talk about price and income stabilization in Africa. It talks about revolutionizing and industrializing agriculture and industry in Africa. And that also married with Kwame Nkrumah's 7-year development plan from 1963 to 1970. So when you take Kwame Nkrumah's 7-year development plan and you transpose it onto Lagos Plan of Action, they are seamless. But what happened to the 7-year, the Lagos Plan of Action? It was jettisoned.
Okay, so grandfather, fine. We appreciate all these angles that you are, highlighting. But the point really is, someone would say that, look, those days are past and gone. Now this is our generation. Fine. Probably just marry it like this. First of all, where did we get it wrong? And if we have accepted that indeed we've gotten it wrong, then what do we do? What is the way out? In fact, those who are, if you like, die-hard leftists, may have their argument as to whether it will be bought by many. That's another matter. That wrong ideological choices was, one of the main factors that contributed to, what we are going through today. Somebody will also say that, look, Charlie, the world has evolved. I mean, you can't live in isolation. We are talking about globalization. So you get the point I'm making. So it may not necessarily be about, a case of wrong ideological choices. Somebody can make that argument. So the question now is, so where do we go from here? What is the way forward? Do we go back to the document that you referred to? And with the crop of leaders that we have today, is it possible to really, really, revisit the said documents and then put them into action?
Do you think you have a choice between hunger and food? If you are hungry, you have a food, and you say that food is not your preference, then you should be prepared to accept that you don't have a choice but to go hungry. So if you think that all those policies that were evolved 4 decades ago, 5 decades ago, are anachronistic, they have outlived their usefulness because of the time that they were composed. Well, the choice for you is what you found yourself, which is the neoliberal economic system, which simply says that open up yourself to be raped by capital. So the choice you have now is one. You take the mining industry in Africa, less than 2.9% of revenue generated from mining in Africa comes back to the continent. And more than 2/3 of that 3.9% goes directly into recurrent expenditure. So what remains for you and I is negligible. What explains this anomaly? Your mining sector in Africa is under extreme dominance by Western miners.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you go back to Lagos Plan of Action, Lagos Plan of Action talk about self-reliance.
Okay.
And collective national socio-economic development.
Okay.
The same as the 7-year development of Kwame Nkrumah, 1966 to 1970. You have practiced for close to 5 decades the Western prescribed economic formula. And every now and then, African economies always dip into abyss. Then they will come up with policies that will, quote unquote, revive your economy. Yet, all these policies, and I am talking about structural adjustment program in the 1980s. Then when the structural adjustment program came up, it brought in its wake another bad economic side effect. And that also leads to the socio-political collapse of the African economy. Then we witness waves, countless number of political coup d'etat here and there. And in Benin, within 3 years, there was a successful 9 coup d'etats. No, 9 attempted 9 coup d'etats, 5 successful. All right. Then you talk specifically when you go to Nigeria. In fact, when Babangida made his coup, BBC at that time reported that this was IMF engineer coup d'etat because the then government resisted IMF and World Bank description of the Nigerian economy. So somebody will have to pay the political price to give the Western economic captain an inroad into the Nigerian economy. So the collapse of agriculture in Nigeria was essentially because Nigeria liberalized food imports. So it became much more cheaper to import food. The same thing applies to most of African countries. Ghana is not an exception. The poultry farm industry in this country was the largest employer of labor in the agri-subsector. Today, I mean, it's a pale shadow of its past glory. So this is what we have, and this is an economic ideological agenda perpetrated by the Western colonizers. Because Africans had attained political independence, and they were uncomfortable because yes, their survival was directly linked to the resources available in Africa. They make sure that they maneuver and manipulated the leadership of Africa that will dance to their tune. So they make sure that they implant people in position of power that will be pliant to their whims and caprices. So if you have a leader that do not want to do yes, sir, master, who doesn't want to behave like a humble servant, then there will have to be a political agenda in the form of military overthrow. So the military will be brought in to kick you out of power. And that is what happened to most of our progressive revolutionary leaders in Africa over the years.
But grandfather, if you are, if you like, taking on the Western powers or the Western authority, you're also forgetting to, if you like, highlight the roles played by, if you like, the local collaborators. So they can't just, for instance, I mean, IMF, World Bank, or whatever, cannot just move into Nigeria and then, engineer something to happen without, if you like, some underground agents or collaborators. Don't you think? So it cannot really be entirely their fault. I mean, somebody will say they are sitting there somewhere and said somebody invited them to come and do whatever, he or she may want them to do.
Recently, there was a publication by Pambazuka. Pambazuka is an African-based online platform. And the author make a reference to a comment by Professor Adebayo Adedeji.
Okay.
And when the Professor Adebayo's reference was the coup that swept Africa in the 70s. And he said most of these coups that took place essentially in French-speaking African countries were sponsored by France.
Okay.
I admit that there is always this column imperialism in our midst. There are always opportunistic elites that think that survival is better protected when they lean on external imperialist forces. I understand that. But you must also come to this root realization, whether comfortable or not, that the internal enemy would not have done what it did to Africa by rolling back the clock of Africa's socio-economic development. Had it not been that it was bankrolled, financed, armed, supported, sponsored, and pushed by the Western European and American countries. North America was very much active in toppling progressive revolutionary African government, the government that had the people at heart, the government that looked internally, that Africa could make it without foreign support. A typical example is the overthrow of Olympia in Togo. Olympia was delivered to a Yadima by the Americans when he seek a refuge. Because at the time, Olympia kicked against the use of French francs and say that he will not bring his currency outside the shores of Africa. That so far as they made the Togolese currency, the Togolese printing house, we should print Togolese currency. As we speak today, how old is Ghana? Ghana's currency is still being printed from outside the shores of Ghana. Yet you have factories, printing factories that are printing sophisticated securities. Government we have elected are not responsible to the citizenry of Africa. We are only exercising, quote and unquote, that franchise on behalf of former colonizers. That is why till today we are unable to call the shot as to how much the buyers of African natural resources must pay. We can't decide. We dare not. We cannot. When Nkrumah carved the 7-year development plan, he anchored the success of that development plan on the proceeds of cocoa. When Julius Nyerere also evolved the Ujamaa policy, it was also gained on the proceeds of 5 stars. What happened to all these raw material? Price of these raw material. Quickly, the price fell flat. In fact, cocoa price was half CISA was also hacked. That sparked economic and social political agitation across board in these two countries because Julius Mwalimu Nyerere is a progressive revolutionary Pan-African. He looked up to Africa than looking across or beyond Africa, same as Kwame Nkrumah. All right? So you cannot link economic performance of political systems. They are all intertwined. The political economy that we are rolling out, it is largely to satisfy desire of the West. So if you try to bring out policies that will make African economy much more independent, you will end the wrath of the West, and they will come after your head. How do you avoid it? The avoidance of this threat largely depend on how we weld the weak microstates in Africa into one unit.
Yeah, Grandfather, before you proceed, you see, when you began your submission, you earlier pointed out the fact that, that look, Africa, we don't have capital. Fine, we can boast of the raw materials and the natural resources, but the bottom line remains that we cannot eat our natural resources. We cannot eat our raw materials. So definitely we need capital to, we need somebody to bring in capital in exchange of the raw materials and the natural resources. So it is something that we have little or no choice. And mind you, they say he who invests demands control. So if the West are investing to ensure that they have access to our raw materials and natural resources, in fact, they would, demand control, as it were. So, looking at these, dicey situation, Africa couldn't have done much, don't you think?
No, I don't think that when really flies in the face of the global economic, financial, system that we have. Capital is not necessarily the liquid cash, okay?
Okay.
Capital is a resource. If you have a resource, let's say machinery.
Yeah.
And if I also have a resource, let's say cocoa.
Okay.
Can you also, with your machinery, not think of how you can leverage it with the resource that I have? Well, you said that I cannot eat my resources. Yes, can they also eat their machinery? This is what calls for some sort of mutual arrangement.
Yeah.
Devoid of exploitation. And that will bring mutual economic well order where there will be win-win situation as is different. Across board, everybody benefits. But because of the insatiable, rabid, profiteering instinct of capitalism, we we are always made to understand that the natural resources we have is next to nothing. And that we must depend on them. No, they will depend on us. This has come to the fore in 1964.
Yeah.
So Nkrumah quickly began to go on. He read silos to store cocoa. Nkrumah did this in collaboration with Sukarno of Indonesia. At that time, what do they want to achieve? The two countries were the largest suppliers of cocoa beans to the global market. If they can shelf, that is store some minimum amount, that will do what? Will trigger an increase in the price of the cocoa bean. So when we see the CIFR, which was largely the reasons of the overthrow of Nkrumah, this very issue was in that record, in the file. Okay? Yeah. So it is not an issue of you don't have capital, they have capital, so we should open ourselves to be raped. No, certainly not. Certainly no. If this is what it is, let's assume, hypothetically, your position is sacrosanct. Let's just assume without that. This is the reason why the African citizen economy needs to begin to do what? Converge at the point of political unity. It is when we take a political decision that will go a way ahead to strengthen our economic bargaining power. It will go a long way to push us to do what? To command that respect and integrity and authority when it comes to global economic negotiation.
Yeah.
Just like the way European Union does. They have just tapped Russian oil as a block. Can we also do the same thing to Toyota? Can we do the same thing to Honda? Can we do the same thing to these telephony companies? That is the reason why Nkrumah, knowing that, no, remain as a single state. You are weakening to the extent that you have no faith when you meet these global economic forces. So he proposed the idea of African unity.
Yeah, Franco, I'm coming. We'll discuss that. Yeah, grandfather. Hello, grandfather. Can you hear me?
Economic system. The key out to unlock African economic opportunities is in African unity, not the other way around.
Yeah, but then, grandfather, I'm glad you talked about the issue of unity, African unity or African Union or something. This concept, we've started pursuing it, many years ago, and the thing appears not to be working. At a point, we tried to copy, the West, talking about EU, that is economic unity, you understand, at least some people have argued that, well, before we venture into the area of political unity, let's first of all have economic unity amongst ourselves. And we have talked about ECO for a very long time, and nothing appears to be working, and what have you. So if we are unable to put our house in order, to get together, knowing pretty well that, strength lies in unity, and that is not working amongst us. So, I mean, it will be, very, very, very simple. Are we not oversimplifying the problem to always throw hands in the air and say, well, the West is always responsible for our predicaments?
Can you rephrase the question?
I'm saying that the issue of unity, African unity, and we have made this argument for, a number of years now, and it is not working. And at a time, at some point, we attempted to fashion our unity along, the kind of the West. I mean, EU, for example, that is economic union, European Union, that, seeks to get the Europes together economically. And here in Africa, some have argued that probably instead of pursuing, all-encompassing unity, that is both political and economic, why don't we focus on getting ourselves together economically first? That is economic unity. And that process, was started, I believe, a few years ago. Talk about ECO. You get the point I'm making. Single currency among the ECOWAS, countries. And then before we move it further to to include other African countries. And these processes are not working. We are more or less working against ourselves to ensure that, look, this idea never saw the light of day. So if we turn around to blame the West, for our inability to put our houses in order, to get together, knowing pretty well that in strength lies in unity. So it will be oversimplification on our side to sort of, blame the West for, our predicament. Don't you think?
ECOWAS was established only having rules. Okay?
Yeah.
ECOWAS is about 47 years old.
Yeah, of course.
Now, one of your main agenda is to economically converge the 16 member states. If this idea is realizable, if this idea is achievable, if this idea is so honorable that everybody could buy into it, why is single currency, the ECO you just made mention of, is still an illusionary dream?
That is the question.
It means there is a missing link. You are putting the cart before the horse. Okay. Everybody knows in the world, including our dictators, that the strongest of a people, of a society, of a community, of a tribe, of ethnic group, is when they have unity of purpose. And unity of purpose is political unity. If the village folks decided to rally around their chief, they can conquer and move further. But if everybody begins to organize themselves around their own clans, that group would easily be dismantled and conquered. So you do not have a choice. You can only move to some extent with economic unity. But you can move further to the point of achieving your dream only when you move with economic unity and with political unity. Sorry. Because what is lacking over the years is that political commitment on the part of the African leaders.
Yeah, but the political will is not there. So why don't we take it one after the other?
If the political will is not there, should cease to think that economic unity will be there because that will even lead to some conflagration among the states. Example, Nigeria closes its borders, I think around 2021 thereabout.
Yeah.
Now, other countries were begging, getting solutions to get. Do you think that if we are politically united, this idea will even cross the mind of the political leadership in Nigeria? Nigeria will only become a federal state. Ghana will become a federation to the continental political system. So decision will be taken where? At the top, in Addis Ababa, and it will not trickle down to the federal states like Ghana, like Saliyo, like Liberia. This is how it should be done. You cannot have economic progress without political unity. So all these that they are doing about what do you call it, African common economic, whatever they call those their things. The eco they are talking about. They kept postponing the eco. Why?
Yeah.
Because they cannot have a convergence. Because the countries in the ECOWAS region have a varying degree of economic strength. So you cannot match Nigeria's economic strength with that of Togo. And Togo is just a population of a little village somewhere around Anambra State. So what are you talking about? How can you have economic convergence? Well, Lagos population is the population of the entirety of the so-called Republic of Ghana. What are you talking about? Are we really serious? Because you see, there are clear indications that look, things are not equal. If things are not equal, then we cannot be talking about economic convergence. But we must. We are one people, so we should be looking at how do we put together our people in one political system where the interests of Ghanaians and that of people from Tanzania, South Africa, people from Zimbabwe and Zambia are not different from the interests of people from Liberia, Senegal, Djibouti, Somalia. In fact, what is even now clear, why Africans need to forge one political unity is the threat of political dismemberment of Africa. And that threat is obvious. Every African state today is facing a political existential threat. Terrorism is at its peak, operating openly or silently in most of African states as we speak now.
Yeah.
All right? So Ghana cannot extricate itself from the threat of Boko Haram or Umoja from Islamic Maghreb in North Africa. No, we cannot say that. This is the reason why we need a common military command, which is called African High Command. So, if you decided to remain the way you are, you will definitely face your music playing at the appointed time.
Well, listeners, we just joined us. This is the Mystery Zone, the zone where we make known the unknown with narratives involving real people at real places. We are reaching you live from the studios of Radio Angelus via www.radioangelus.com. And tonight we are hanging out with Grandfather Ayetomeka. We have less than 5 minutes to go, Grandfather. So there are a couple of questions here. I don't know. Let me just the random. I mean, I'm going to give you probably, if need be, 1.5 minutes each to address just quickly. someone wanted to know that whether or not Ghana, really shot herself in the foot by truncating the regime of Dr. Osagyefo Kwame Nkrumah.
Well, certainly the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah brought down the progress of African development, all right? Because Nkrumah was the shaker and mover of the socio-economic system after the independence in Africa. So most of the policies that were today even being put across are borrowed from Nkrumah's 7-year development plan. Most of the African countries together. So yes, and Ghana and Nkrumah's overthrow is actually the beginning of the downfall of Africa, economically and politically. That is unarguable.
Good. And another question here. The person says, "What is it too late for Ghana to get it right?"
Come again?
Is it too late for Ghana to get it right?
Oh, there is nothing too late. In fact, this is even an opportunity for us to go to the drawing board and look at the policies by past and present administration. I do know there was a development commission by the previous administration. It was an excellent document. Can we tap into that? Can we now take this opportunity and say that let's look again and evolve a policy of self-reliance? Okay, so we now begin to roll out import substitution, manufacturing establishments, industries all over, so that we no longer go and import underwear for our ladies and pants for our men. Okay, we have the cotton being produced in some areas in Ghana and in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is exporting raw cotton. We have the cotton ginnery here in Ghana. What do we do to that? All right. Okay. You are importing cars. What component of cars can you manufacture? You should begin to do that so that you do what? You reduce the pressure on the city. So it is really not too late. It is actually an opportunity for us to look strictly into our face and say that, look, we have let this country down. We have failed this generation. And we should do the kind of things that are possible in order to bring back confidence and instill discipline in ourselves so that the next generation will build upon where we have left off. That is our responsibility now.
Wonderful. And this last one, let me pick it because we're already out of time. Someone argues that, look, that we should take it or leave it, that without the interventions of IMF and World Bank, Ghana, and for that matter, Africa, would have been in a more terrible state. Do you agree with that, opinion?
No, you see, I know some of us are living in our own world. So because we dream our own dream. So how much is World Bank going to give us? He said 3 billion. The 3 billion is not coming instantly. It's going to be, staggered.
Yes.
And the first part will be $750 million. What can $750 million do to us? Go to Makola and find out how much is being mobilized a day from Makola. What are you talking about? All right? Okay, how much cocoa, how much gold is being exported? Look, in Dubai alone, 2016, all right, over 5 billion worth of Ghana gold was exported to that country. So what are you talking about that you don't have money? It is because you have a backward bunch of corrupt elite that cannot reason. And that has also gotten into our citizenry, just like the way the president is posing that question now. And this is the threat, the danger that we face. Just completely, we think that we are useless without somebody from somewhere assisting us to work. Okay? Now, if you look at the amount of money the government has given out as tax rebate, as tax holiday, okay, the government waives certain tax for investment. That money alone is in excess of over $5 billion. Okay? Which is close to about 3.7% of our GDP. You have this money, so why are you asking somebody to come and give you money for what? We need to build that self-esteem that the black man is capable. We are capable. We have done it before. No, the fortunes of the continent of Africa said this. By 1979, our contribution to global GDP was 2.7%. Okay? 2.7% of the capital income. How much is it today? We are far lesser than that. It means that our economic performance was far better 40, 50 years ago than today. So it means that there is something organically wrong with us. We cannot continue on the same path. That path leads to distraction. That path will certainly end up in recolonization of Africa. And remember, the world will only survive in the next 100 years, only based on resources embedded in Africa, not in Asia, not in Europe, not in Oceania, not in America. This is the study by World Bank. In fact, UK can only feed its citizens for the next 50 years or less, because the land, the agricultural land in UK is poisoned. It's poisoned because of the application of effective agrochemical, that the lands in UK now have become alkaline, and that it can no longer sustain crop production in UK after the next 50 years. It is only Africa. So do not be surprised. What the former president Jerome said, there is a land grabbing going on by big agro establishments from the West, because they knew very well that come next 50 years, Europe, most of the countries will be unable to feed its citizens. And that it is only the land in Africa that will be able to provide food on the table. So watch out.
Wow. Well, grandfather, we want to thank you for appearing on the Mystery Zone. It's been, insightful. It's been very, very, very engaging. It's been so very, historically educative. I mean, we want to thank you for your time and also for enriching, the discussion or the discourse with your wealth of experience and knowledge. Say thank you pretty much, and hopefully we'll connect with you sometime again in the future.
Thank you.
Good. Well, listeners, that does it tonight on the Mystery Zone. My name is Jose Anderson. Production is by Nashika Kwe, and JB sorted me out, technically. It is unfortunate that the Mystery Zone would, will be going on break, and we are going to refire. We are going to reboot. We would, put together a fresh and enticing content, and bounce back in a few weeks from now. Hopefully, in the next 3-4 weeks or so, we should be back, and we promise to sort of feed you with more authentic content I mean, something that you would always remember. And but keep following our page on Facebook, and also via Radio Angelus at Radio Angelus Ghana. You know, hashtag the Mystery Zone. You can always rewatch our previous episodes. And let's keep the conversation going, until we meet again sometime in the middle of January. We are going to come back with a blast. It's going to be, a very, 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 very powerful content. So I will be with you again sometime in 2023. This is Josie Anderson. I'm signing out, like we say always. Do no wrong, live long where you belong. This is the Mystery Zone. I'm out.